Now, there are a lot of rumors floating around in the Nintendo community. To be honest, they have the most out of all, and I have no idea why, but it is the case. Maybe because Nintendo is incredibly old? Older than Xbox and Sony at least. And one that has the most out of all Nintendo titles is the Super Smash Bros. Franchise. And I bet most of you have noticed this. I mean, nowadays, with Super Smash Bros. Ultimate for the Nintendo Switch being such a hit, we are still bombarded with new screenshots, rumors, and claims that could be true or false. And this was also the case with the older games. Heck, I even covered one of those a while ago, and it turned out to be true. You can play as Master Hand in Super Smash Bros. Melee. And because that video was such a hit, I decided to cover another big Smash rumor. This time about certain characters that were supposedly in the game. Sonic and Tails. So, are they in the game? How do you unlock them? Are they any good? And what abilities do they have? Well, let's find out. But first, introducing my new store, Wily.gg, the place to buy your new games and get your hands on eShop cards for Nintendo as well as Xbox. And don't forget, use code Wily at checkout to save 10%. Now let's continue. Now, back in the day, Super Smash Bros. Was a bit of a surprise release. I mean, have you ever seen the commercial for that game? It's insane! Normally, Nintendo is all family-friendly and stuff, and now you can see Donkey Kong, Pikachu, and Mario and a bunch of other Nintendo characters beating the ever-living daylight out of each other. But, surprisingly enough, it turned into a huge hit. And even today, it is still one of the most popular franchises that Nintendo has, which even rivals the other legends like Zelda. So of course, they made a second game which was released for the Nintendo GameCube, known as Super Smash Bros. Melee. And as soon as consumers got it, it received universal acclaim, with many critics praising the game's expansion and refinement from its N64 predecessor, as well as its visuals, tight controls, multiplayer mode, and orchestrated soundtrack. Although its single-player mode was a bit, meh. Personally, I loved the game as well, and played it a lot. But back in those days, there were also a lot of rumors surrounding it. I mean, the internet was in its infancy, so you never really knew what was real and what was fake. And aside from the rumor about playing as Master Hand, there was another very popular one. You can supposedly unlock new characters in the game, with the most famous one being Sonic and Tails. And it's one of the most infamous rumors, not just in the Super Smash Bros. Series, but also in the world of video games as a whole. And all of this started a really long time ago, with one big media company playing a huge role in all of this. The gaming-themed magazine Electronic Gaming Monthly said that Sonic and Tails could be unlocked in the game. This was an amazing magazine that was founded in 1988 and was quite well known back in the day. And they still exist because now they run a website. Now, according to them, defeating 20 enemies in Cruel mode would do the trick. This is a mode that is seen in a lot of Smash games. It challenges the player to defeat as many opponents as possible, with no KO limit or time limit before the mode ends. And if you defeat 20 enemies in this mode, you supposedly end up in a battle with Sonic and Tails. So you alone are fighting the both of them at the same time. And if you actually manage to beat them, they are unlocked in the game and you can play as them, which is pretty cool. But this wasn't the only thing. They also claimed that upon completing Classic mode with either Sonic or Tails, the player would get a special surprise. Now, I have no idea what this surprise is, because they don't mention anything in the magazine issue itself. Now, after this, the rumor rapidly spread, with rival publication Nintendo Power publishing an article about the rumor as well. So, what's up with this? Was this real? Can you actually unlock Sonic and Tails in Super Smash Bros. Melee? Well, people started looking into all of this. And quite quickly, they ran into some problems. Because after unlocking all 25 characters, the player receives a notice that they have unlocked all characters. So unlocking more characters at that point would contradict the notice, which was odd. But that wasn't all. The pair's positions on opposite sides of the character selection screen defies the general rule that characters of a series are grouped together once everyone is unlocked. Additionally, their presence blocks the random character functionality with no apparent replacement, which is an unlikely occurrence in terms of game design. And in the screenshot claiming to show Sonic as a selectable character, Sonic's art is identical to one of his official renders from Sonic Adventures on the Sega Dreamcast. In contrast, all other characters in the game have completely original art for their character selection portraits. So something was wrong here. But this wasn't the end for the rumor. While it was weird, it wasn't a killing blow or something. But sadly enough, shortly after this, 2 more things were discovered that showed that all of this was most likely fake. There was no data on the game's disc relating to the duo, and they cannot be selected with the debug menu. And the method for unlocking the two simply doesn't work, which numerous videos online have demonstrated. In the early years of the rumor, an infamous video featuring Pikachu getting 565 KOs, which is a lot, in Cruel Melee, effectively disproved the hoax. And even other publications started to mention this. For example, Nintendo Power said it was a hoax, and the page on Melee and Nintendo's website also mentions that it was false. So while the Master Hand glitch is 100% true, you can check that out after this video, this one was sadly enough false. And it does make sense, because there were subtle hints all along pointing towards the fact that it was an April Fool's joke, because the notice commemorating Sonic and Tails being unlocked had the date as 4/1/2002, aka April Fool's Day for you Americans. And it's January 4th for us Europeans and literally everyone else. I don't know why America has the month first, it doesn't make sense. But regardless of that, the Electronic Gaming Monthly would eventually confess in its next issue that the cheat was an April Fool's joke. And apparently, they were known for that. And just like they did with their previous April Fool's jokes, they mocked the people who took it seriously. But later on, they made it more fun and wholesome by starting a contest where players who submitted video proof of getting 20 or more KOs in Cruel Melee could receive a free copy of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, Sonic's first game on a Nintendo system. But was all of this a complete lie? Well, no. Actually, if things were slightly different, we would have seen them in Super Smash Bros. Melee. Because during an interview conducted by Edge with former head of Sonic team Yuji Naka, I think, he claimed that on the topic of Sonic and Tails appearing in Melee, he said, "It was very close, but time constraints did not allow us to continue with the idea." So it was in the works, which is very surprising because back then Nintendo and Sega were still huge rivals. So a collaboration like this would have been rare and unlikely, but it looks like this was actually in the works and not just a stupid rumor. And later on, Sonic at least became a playable character in all Smash games, starting with Brawl, while Tails made a number of cameo appearances. So while this rumor is fake, it was still true to an extent. And luckily enough, now in the modern Super Smash Bros. Games, we can finally play as Sonic. However, this isn't the only rumor like it that I've covered. Like I mentioned before, I also did a video on playing as Master Hand in Super Smash Bros. Melee. And I also covered mysteries about completely different franchises like Super Mario and Zelda. So be sure to check them out by clicking in the upper right corner or on the screen right now. Thank you all so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to click subscribe, click the bell button, leave a like, do all the good stuff, you know, classic. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Yay, yippee, bye! Kisses from Papa.